Hey guys, it's Lori, your cheeky crafter, and this kit is Pink and Main's July 2021. Yes, I'm still playing catch up. It is called Farmer's Market. You can see it's got some fall colors in there with the green, khaki, yellow, blue, and then the glittery gold and red. You've got red glitter tape, some glitter enamel dots, some sequins, a wood grain embossing folder, a stencil, and then stamps and dies that are frames. And then you've got your paper pack. And as I began flipping through this, I know it's called Farmer's Market, but it totally made me think Christmas. But I was trying to stick with the theme of Farmer's Market. So in my first two cards, I did, and then I kind of didn't. You'll see. So for my first card, I chose this plaid background, and then I cut out the center of the cardstock. And I'm going to put the plaid paper on the cardstock. Now the cardstock is 5.5 by 4 1/4, and the plaid paper is 5 1/4 by 4. Then I stamped the sunflower, colored it with some Spectrum Noir markers. I'll list the colors in the description. And then I cut out a sentiment, thinking of you. And I decided I would add some ink to it, so I'm using Gina K Sandy Beach. And I'm just going to run right over that all the way around to give it some color. And this color actually matches almost perfectly to the cardstock in real life, you can tell. But so here we go, and then I'm just going to tape everything down. And this will be my first card. Now it looks crooked there, and I'm not super excited, so I try to get it. Now this little tool from Creative Memories will allow you to pick it up and fix it. So there we go, and I made two. Now this card I did very similar, just different paper. And instead of doing landscape, I'm going to do this one portrait. And this time I took the barn scene and colored it in, again with Spectrum Noir, and cut a red glitter background. So again, very similar. I'm going to do pretty much the same thing. It's just I went from landscape to portrait and changed the sentiment and the scene that I colored. So I chose the Hello Friend sentiment this time. I'll get this glued down. And then I'm going to add just a couple of those glitter epoxy dots onto the banner, one on each side, just to help it give a little more finished look. And of course, I made two of these as well. So I wanted to show you how I made this background using the stencil that came with the kit this month. So first I've taped my paper down. Now I'm going to tape the stencil down, so of course it won't move as I'm inking it up. And I've chosen two colors here, and the first one I'm going to lay down is the Sweet Corn by Gina K. It's a yellow, and it's a nice yellow that goes with this Farmer's Market theme. So I'm showing you this technique or how I did the stencils, so that you can use it if you like, and so that you'll see it on my next card, even though I don't use this particular pattern. So what I've got is a little fingertip dauber from scrapbook.com, and now I'm using powder blue, and I'm just going over each of the little dots. And it's going to look like I've bled outside the dot, which I intended to do, because it'll give it this really nice effect. It will look like the center of the flower is blue, and then the tips of the flower are blue. So it's really pretty cool. So you'll see it as we finish up here for the big reveal. But I'm going to go ahead and finish up this last dot. Then I'm just going to give it a once over and hit any of those that didn't look like it was all in there. So then I'll remove my tape so I can pull the stencil up. And of course it was giving me a fit there. And the great thing about that purple tape is you can use it over. So there it is. Isn't that beautiful? So now I'm going to show you how I cut the paper. First I trimmed this down to 4 1/4 by 5. Save that extra strip for scraps. Then I've cut a pattern paper to be the same size, 4 1/4 by 5.5. Put the two together, and then I'm going to put them on my cutter at an angle so that now I can get two cards out of it. And then I can flip them around since these are not positional papers. So that's what I did for this next card. only this one's going to have a Christmas theme, so I did it with Gina K's Grass Green and Faded Brick. Then I've got that red with white polka dot paper, and I'm gluing it down to the green cardstock. And then I've got the red glitter tape. I'm going to cut a strip here and adhere that in between the two where they meet. And as always, I struggle a little bit peeling off that tape, or peeling off the backing. Then I'll just wrap that around and then go ahead and add it to the card base. And this will cover the entire card. And there I was just trying to decide which one I wanted on top and which one I wanted on bottom. So now I'm going to use this new kit from the Stamps of Life. It's called Holly Wreath to Stamp. So I went ahead and cut that out and colored it in using my Spectrum Noir markers. Then I cut out, well actually I took some faded brick from Gina K, rubbed it on some white cardstock, and then cut out these little holly berries using the die from that same kit from the Stamps of Life. Then I'm just going to glue each one down. And just a little tip here. When you are putting these down, you can see in the outline which one overlaps. So be sure you put the bottom one on first so that you get the right overlap. Probably wouldn't really matter because it wouldn't necessarily matter which way they overlap, but it'll just kind of help guide you along. And so I'm getting to the end here and I think, oh no, I'm going to be one short, just one short. I was like, that can't be right. So then I dig around and sure enough I found the extra one. There it is. So I'm going to add a piece of craft foam here and then glue it down, and there you go. I'm not sure if you caught that, but something weird happened with my camera and it didn't record me making this card. But I used a star from the Stamps of Life Stitch Stars, and then you can see I just cut the paper, adhered it, and then I used 2 sentiments from the stamp set. Congratulations, and then the bottom says, "You have gone above and beyond," which sounded like a gold star moment, which is why I included the star. Alright, for this next card, I'm using a Pink and Main reverse scallop die for the outside border. And this cuts it to 5.5 by 4 1/4, so it's an A2 size. Then I'm going to lay down the pattern paper and get it adhered, and then I will apply that to the card base. Then from the Pink and Main Hooray set, which was a monthly kit, I've cut out the word Hooray from gold glitter, and then I've got the blue cardstock. But I'm going to hit the edges with the powder blue just to give it a little more depth, and so that it'll pop a little more against the background of the card. So then I will just go ahead and adhere the Hooray to the card, or excuse me, to the background, and then I will adhere that to the card, right there in the middle. Then I'm just going to apply a few glitter enamel dots, or epoxy, yeah, those are enamel dots. Just sporadically around there. I've got the first 3 sort of in a triangle on the right hand side, and then I'm just going to add 2 more on the left. And there you go. For this card, I'm going to use Pink and Main stitch banners, and I've cut out 2 with some pattern paper, and I will get those adhered to the green with white polka dot paper. And then I will apply that to the card base, or excuse me, to the green cardstock mat, and then I'll apply that to the card base. And then I will work on the sentiment. Now the sentiment is coming from another Pink and Main kit. It is from All Occasions, no, excuse me, Encouraging Words. And then I cut the sentiment strip from a Queen and Company foundation die, set number 6, I believe. And then I will just put that right in the middle, grab some more of those glitter enamel dots and put them around on the card, and there you have it. And of course I made 2 of them. Alright, time for a little shaker card. So I've got several pieces to put together here. Now this acetate, or I can't remember where I got it, I just found it laying around, which made me decide to do a shaker card. So I've already cut out the piece where I want the window to be, and I'm just going to lay that acetate down on top. Then I'm going to add a piece of foam, and I'm going to go ahead and do this now so that it can start to dry. Now there are 100 different ways that you can make a shaker card. Everybody has their own style. Some like to put the little piece of acetate in between the front. It doesn't really matter as long as you make sure that you've got enough room for your things to shake. And these pieces are real small. So I've also cut the sentiment that I'm going to use from a Queen & Company die set. Then the sentiment comes from another set by Pink & Main called All Occasion, maybe? Or Encouraging Words? I can't remember. It's one or the other. So now I'm just going to squeeze out the rest of these sequins that came with the kit. Get them sort of centered up. And they stick everywhere, of course, because they've got that static. So you might want to think about running your anti-static tool across there just to keep them in line. But now if you do that, remember that it may create, the powder may leave a little bit of a residue, so you'll need to wipe down your acetate so that it shows through. So there I've got it together. I'm going to make sure that it is all secured and tight. I will put this piece that I cut out around the outside to sort of finish it off. Then I'll be able to glue down my sentiment as well. And then I'm going to, of course, make sure that it shakes. Oh, look, I forgot to put it on the card base. So once I do that, I will make sure it shakes, and then we'll be good to go. So here's another card where I used the stencil, and this time I used powder blue and faded brick from Gina K. So I'm just going to adhere that to the blue cardstock. I've got another piece of that red glitter tape. I'm going to run it along the sides, or run it between the two. And now you can use this card either way. You could use it in the portrait mode or in the landscape mode. I've chosen landscape today, but you could, of course, do it any way you want. I'm using the sentiment Thinking of You. This is, again, another Pink & Main set. So I'm just going to adhere that down on the right-hand side at the bottom on that blue paper. Now that blue paper is textured, so make sure you get a good stick. You might want to use your MISTI. I was foolish and didn't, but it turned out okay. Then I'm just going to add some of these enamel dots. Now because I'm putting them on the glitter, I'm adding glues to make sure that they stick. And you'll see on this last one I accidentally picked it right back up with my finger, so I had to do it again. But that's why I add the glue. And I made 2. So again, this cards and paper reminded me of Christmas, but I resisted the urge to do Christmas cards. And although this one is going to look very Christmassy, I have chosen to do a different sentiment. So I cut that angled piece from a Queen & Company die. That's foundation set number 10. Then using the Stamps of Life scallop border, I've cut from the gold glitter sheet that's included in the Pink & Main kit. Put it right there. Now I've got my sentiment. I cut the circles from Queen & Company. Got the sentiment from a Pink & Main set. I'll glue this down together and get this adhered to the card. And then you can see that scallop die produces little dots where it's cut out. So I've got those together, and I've got a few that I'm going to put on there, and I'm just going to alternate between the red and the gold glitter paper. And I'm just going to kind of line them up with the circles that are beneath them in the scallops. And I'm just alternating red, gold, all the way down the line, and just making sure that they're all kind of lined up. And then once I'm done, obviously I've made 2. So for my last cards, I've decided to use up all of the scraps that I have left over. So I've cut a piece of just plain white cardstock, and this is not the heavyweight, this is just regular weight cardstock. And I've cut it to 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm just gonna lay these pieces down sort of in that herringbone pattern. So I start with my longest piece first, and I make sure that I get it to the edges. Now I'm gonna cut as I go. Be sure you save these little triangles that come off at the end, and I'll show you why as we get to the end of the pattern. So now I'm looking for 2 pieces that are the same pattern so that I can easily make this balanced looking. And I'll add them on each side, and then I will just continue around in that same pattern, alternating the directions that I go. And you'll see how this looks as we continue to go. So then I'm just looking, and I'm alternating too between like a real super white background with a light pattern or more of a pattern. And then I'm just alternating back and forth between the two. And we'll just keep going here. I'm going to skip ahead. So once I've got it all together, I will adhere it to my last piece of cardstock, which is the yellow paper, add that to the card base, and then I can add my sentiment, which I just cut from that same frame that came with the kit, and I stamped it with "The best is yet to come." I'll glue this down onto some craft foam, add it to the card, and I did make two, although obviously they're different because of the pattern paper and also because of that sentiment piece. So once again, here are the 10 designs I used with Pink and Main's July 2021 kit titled Farmer's Market. I have 20 cards total with 10 different designs. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, make a comment, and let me know which one you like the best. Thanks so much. Oh, see which card's upside down? Oops.